think the Privileges Committee is pretty damning. You know, it's serious. Boris Johnson is not only a lawbreaker but a liar. He's not fit for public office and he's disgraced himself and continues to act like a, pound shop Trump in the way in which he tries to discredit anybody who criticises his actions when actually a decent public servant would have done the honourable thing, would have had a little bit of humility and would have apologised to the British public for what they put them through.
He says he hasn't done anything wrong, that it's a witch hunt, that they've set out to get him from the beginning. What do you make of that response?
I think it's a load of rubbish and he knows it, and that's why he didn't challenge his seat. That's why he's resigned, because he knows he wouldn't win that by-election, because he knows the public can see through this act, this clown act that he puts on, whereas it's pretty obvious that that report is very damning into what happened, and he's disgraced himself and he should apologise to the British people, and Rishi Sunak shouldn't have propped him up for as long as he has, and the British public shouldn't be paying for the lawbreaker and the liar for his legal defence when he hasn't got a defence because he's banged to rights on what he's done.
They recommended a 90-day suspension. Obviously, that won't happen because he's resigned, but also stripping him of his parliamentary pass, so he wouldn't potentially even be allowed back in the Palace of Westminster. Is that going a little bit far for somebody who was Prime Minister?
No, I don't, because somebody like him should never have been Prime Minister, because he's shown that he can uphold the standards in public life. Look, under Prime Minister Boris Johnson, we had the ministerial code continually breached. He did nothing about that. We had the scandal of PPE contracts and cronyism. We've seen him trying to stuff the Lords with people that aided and abetted him during that period, and he's undermined his office and he's undermined the office of Prime Minister. He's a disgraced Prime Minister. He shouldn't be anywhere near Parliament. He should apologise to the people for what he's put them through. People lost their loved ones and wasn't able to see people in their dying minutes while he was getting drunk at number 10, having parties, knowing full well that that was completely unacceptable. He should have admitted it, he should have apologised, and instead he's blaming everybody else, which is a pattern of behaviour from Boris Johnson. He needs to start to grow up and accept responsibility for his actions.
He says that the Privileges Committee can't possibly know what was going on in his head. Does he have a point with that?
Well, the Privileges Committee are not trying to see what's going on in his head. They've gone off the evidence, they've followed a due diligent process, and they've come to a conclusion, which is a very damning conclusion. The Privileges Committee are made up of members of Parliament from different political parties, including Conservatives. Their job is to find the truth and to put forward the report, which is what they've done. And to try and discredit them when he's the discredited one is a disgraceful pattern of behaviour, and it cannot be allowed to stand. Not in the heart of Parliament, not in our democracy. It's unacceptable, and he needs to go now, and he needs to apologise for what he's put the British public through. He won't, though, because Boris Johnson never accepts responsibility for the things that he does, and it's about time he does.
The Privileges Committee are talking about contempt of Parliament as well, in the way that he responded to the report and the way that his supporters have besmirched it, and talking about taking disciplinary action against some of them. Would you agree with that?
I think he has had contempt for the parliamentary process, but I think the British public can see right through that. I think he needs to reflect on what he's done. He needs to apologise to the British people. They put so much trust and faith and confidence in him, and he's let them down, he's let himself down, and he's let the public office down in the way in which he's conducted himself. And to me, he seems like a toddler that's thrown his toys out of the pram because he's been caught and he doesn't like it. Boris Johnson thinks he's above the rules and always has done. But now he can see, and I hope that this process continues. I hope we get that vote on Monday and it goes through, because people need to have faith in our democracy and faith in our processes. And this is the right thing to do. The Privileges Committee have done their work without fear or favour, despite Boris Johnson now trying to cast doubt on that Privileges Committee. That committee worked diligently, compiled their report, came with the findings, and it's now time to accept that report and move on.
Boris Johnson says he's going to be back, but do you think this is the end of Boris Johnson's political career?
I think the public can see through Boris Johnson now, see him as the class clown that he is, and want nothing more to do with him. I wish him a long retirement.
And finally, this Tory infighting, obviously very damaging. Are Labour going to be the big winners out of this?
Nobody's the winner at the moment. The cost of living that people are going through, bills going through the roof, energy prices, the situation we've got internationally, we've got productivity low in this country. People need to see hope for their future, not a psychodrama constantly going on in Number 10 and around the government. We've had 13 years of Tory failure. It's now time to get Labour in power, who's got a real plan on how we can really help people's lives at the moment. That's what people want to see. It's not a psychodrama in Westminster. They want to see us doing the job at hand, increasing productivity in this country, getting the country back on track and investing in our children's future, and that's what Labour will do.